Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast.
Today we're looking at Inspire Veterinary Partners.
As usual, before we start, subscribe, like, and comment to this video to support the show. And if there's a specific company you want us to look into, leave it in the comments below.
All right, so Inspire Veterinary Partners. This is it's a really classic case study, a roll-up company in a sector that's, incredibly fragmented but also incredibly stable.
Exactly. For anyone not familiar with that model, what IVP is doing is basically a consolidation play. They're going into the huge U.S. veterinary hospital market and buying up clinics. Right now, they've got, 14 hospitals across 9 states. So they're acting as this regional consolidator, trying to get those efficiencies of scale.
And the real appeal of this whole model, the reason people get excited is the market itself.
Oh, absolutely.
The U.S. pet care industry is famously, recession resistant. People will cut back on a lot of things before they cut back on their pet's health.
It's not a discretionary spend for most people.
Not at all. And it's growing at a steady 5 to 7% a year. It's just perfect for these kinds of roll-up strategies because it's full of independent practices.
And the numbers, at least at the clinic level, seem to show that their thesis is actually working. And we have to make that distinction, right? It's working in the clinics.
Yes, that is the critical point.
Because look at their Q3 2025 numbers. Revenue was up 7% year over year. But here's the kicker for me. The comparable clinic revenues.
The comps, yeah.
Right. The sales growth at hospitals they've owned for over a year, that was up 9.2%. That's really strong.
That 9.2% is a fantastic number. It tells you two things. First, client demand is there. It's robust. And second,
that their strategy is working.
Exactly. That their strategy for pricing, for adding services inside the clinics they already own, is a success. They aren't just buying growth, they're actually creating it organically.
Which is supposed to be the validation for their whole M&A strategy, right? They say they buy places with a financial track record and growth potential.
That's the theory. You buy the clinic, you layer on your shared services, HR, accounting, all that, and you immediately boost the margins.
Okay, so that's the good news. That's the sunny side of the street. But we have to talk about the financials because they tell a very, very different story.
Yeah, this is where it gets really complicated. You have these genuinely bullish operational numbers right next to a deeply distressed financial reality.
It's a huge disconnect.
Despite selling more and at higher rates, the company is profoundly unprofitable.
And I mean profoundly. As of the end of 2024, the accumulated deficit, the total money they've lost since they started, was over $36 million.
$36 million. That's a massive hole for a company this size to dig out of.
A huge hole.
And that's from years of just, aggressive growth and the costs of integrating all these different clinics. For the full year 2024, their net loss was over $14.2 million.
That's a big burn rate.
It's a huge burn rate. Now, to be fair, there are some green shoots. The trajectory is getting better. They did manage to cut that net loss by about 3.6% compared to 2023.
And it got even better more recently, right? In Q3 of 2025, the net loss improved a lot. It declined by 27%.
That is a crucial data point. It means the cost cutting, the synergies, it's finally starting to show up on the bottom line. It's slow, but it's there.
And that's absolutely vital because their balance sheet has been razor thin.
It was touch and go for a while there.
Yeah.
They really only avoided a major liquidity crisis earlier this year. Management pulled off a critical move in July 2025.
The private placement.
The Series B preferred stock private placement, yes.
And that brought in about $5 million, which, it was basically financial triage, right? Keep the lights on.
It was. But it did two things. It gave them the cash they needed, obviously. But it also showed they could still raise money even when things looked pretty grim.
Which brings us to something I find fascinating, and that's the signal from the institutional investors. It's easy to just write this off as a penny stock, but there's some smart money here.
There is. Look at the warrants they accepted back in March 2025. The exercise price on those was $1.83 a share.
Okay, let's just pause on that number for a second. $1.83. The stock today is trading for what, 12 cents?
Around 12 cents, yes.
So why would a professional investor agree to a deal where they have the right to buy shares at $1.83 years from now? Those warrants don't expire until 2030.
It wouldn't. It makes no sense unless you believe the company is not only going to survive, but that its stock is going to be worth significantly more than $1.83 by then.
So they're pricing in, a 15-fold increase from here, just to make it worth their while?
At a minimum. It's a massive bet on the turnaround. And it suggests they're not just looking for a slow recovery. They're looking for an exit.
A buyout.
A buyout from a larger player, private equity, something like that. The asset itself, a platform of vet clinics, is valuable. The problem is the company might not survive long enough to realize that value.
Which is the perfect pivot to the immediate existential crisis here. The thing that overshadows everything we've just said.
The Nasdaq listing.
Their listing status. In November 2025, they got a formal notice from Nasdaq. You're not meeting the minimum bid price. You're in trouble.
And this is the #1 risk. And it's an acute risk because they don't get the normal grace period.
Right. They're not eligible for the automatic 180 days that most companies get to sort things out. And we need to be really clear why that is.
It's because of all the reverse splits.
Exactly. Too much financial engineering. Nasdaq has rules to stop companies from just, constantly doing reverse splits to artificially pump up their share price. IVP did so many that the cumulative ratio was at least 250 to 1.
And that 250 to 1 is the magic number that triggers this rule. Nasdaq basically says you've abused this mechanism so you don't get the automatic extension. This appeal is their last shot.
So the clock is seriously ticking here. They have to appeal the delisting by a tight deadline, late November 2025. If that appeal fails,
Trading gets suspended, and they're delisted to the OTC markets very soon after. It's a binary event, a make-or-break moment.
and you can see that reflected perfectly in the stock price.
Oh, completely. The price collapsed around 12 cents. The market is not pricing in that 9% operational growth we talked about.
No.
It's pricing in the worst-case scenario. It's pricing in failure, that the company gets kicked off NASDAQ, loses all access to capital, and potentially goes bankrupt.
So what we're really looking at is not a fundamentals-based investment anymore. It's a high-risk, high-reward, speculative play that hinges entirely on this one regulatory decision.
The NASDAQ appeal is everything.
And if they win, if they get an extension, say 3-6 months, that could trigger a huge relief rally, right? If you're priced for zero, any good news can send the stock flying.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And beyond that decision, there are a couple of other things to watch. First is the Q4 earnings release, early 2026.
They have to show that loss is still shrinking.
They have to. That 27% improvement from Q3 needs to continue, or even get better. It proves the turnaround is real and takes pressure off that $5 million they just raised.
And don't forget, their whole business is M&A. So another smart, accretive acquisition could be a catalyst, something that shows they're still focused on growth, not just survival.
Well, and in situations like this, you always get the rumor mill going.
Of course.
We've seen chatter about private equity sniffing around, which makes sense given the valuation, and talk about maybe a management shakeup to fix the compliance issues.
But before anyone gets too excited about the potential upside, we have to hammer home the risks. Let's just list them out. 1.
A persistent unprofitability. The burn is slowing, but if they don't get to actual sustainable profit in the next 18 to 24 months, that $5 million runs out. Then you're looking at more dilution at terrible prices.
2. Acquisition integration failure. The whole model depends on buying clinics and making them better. If they overpay or if they can't integrate them properly, the strategy just destroys value instead of creating it.
And number 3, the big one, delisting. Moving to the OTC markets is a disaster for liquidity. Most institutions can't own OTC stocks, so your buyer pool just evaporates overnight.
So in the end, you have this paradox. It's a company in a great market with a proven model at the clinic level. The operations are improving.
But that whole story is completely hijacked by the immediate regulatory and liquidity crisis. It's a pure speculation on the outcome of that NASDAQ appeal.
If they can navigate this, if they can get the time they need, the upside from these levels is massive. But you have to go in with your eyes wide open.
You do. The risk of losing everything is just as real. It's a true high-stakes gamble on a company with good bones, but a very, very shaky foundation at this exact moment.
Which makes Inspire Veterinary Partners a fascinating, if terrifying, chart to watch as we head toward the end of the year.
Make sure you stay tuned for our next analysis by subscribing, liking, and commenting on this video.